If you looked at me, you wouldn't see a person. You'd see a fleece vest. Specifically, a zip-up fleece in a shade of gray that interior designers probably call corporate fog or cubicle depression. I am 42 years old. I drive a Subaru Outback that has never exceeded 5 miles over the speed limit. I eat a chicken salad wrap at exactly 12:30 p.m. every single day. To the people at Pinnacle Software Solutions, I am Dorothy from IT Security. I am the buzzkill. I am the woman who sends passive-aggressive emails about password protocols and USB drive policies. I am the gray rock of the office, a term usually reserved for dealing with narcissists. But in my case, it's a professional survival strategy. My boss, Marcus, thinks I'm obsolete. Marcus is the Vice President of Engineering, a title that implies he engineers things. The only thing Marcus engineers is his LinkedIn personal brand and a cold brew system that costs more than my mortgage payment. He's one of those guys who wears a hoodie with dress shoes to look innovative, but screams at junior developers if his deployment pipeline isn't green by stand-up. He treats the office like his personal startup playground, and I'm the IT lady he can't wait to outsource to a managed service provider. Dorothy, did you really need to flag the third-party API integration as a security risk? Marcus asked me this morning, leaning against my cubicle wall. He smelled like artisanal coffee and overconfidence. It's a vibe killer. We're trying to disrupt the enterprise space, not drown it in red tape. The integration bypasses our authentication layer. Marcus, I said, not looking up from my monitor. My voice was flat, monotone. I practiced this voice in the mirror. It's the voice of a woman who has given up on being heard. You're such a riot. Dottie, he snorted, pushing off my wall and leaving fingerprints on the fabric partition. A real riot. Don't forget the all hands at 2. Try to look engaged. I'm unveiling the new transparency initiative. It's going to be transformative. He walked away, fist bumping a product manager named Chase, who looks like he was generated by an AI trained on startup culture. I waited until Marcus was exactly 20 feet away before I typed a 16-character code into a terminal that looked like a standard Visual Studio window, but was actually a masked interface for the National Security Agency. See, Marcus thinks Pinnacle Software Solutions builds enterprise collaboration tools. He thinks we make project management software for Fortune 500 companies. And we do. About 65% of our code base is legitimate, boring corporate productivity stuff. Ticket tracking, Kanban boards, sprint planning features. It's the perfect cover. The other 35%, that's my department. I don't write ticket tracking features. I maintain the backdoor access protocols for NSA surveillance systems. I manage the zero-day exploit repositories that don't officially exist. I handle code that doesn't have names, just alphanumeric designations that would make a Pentagon security officer sweat. When the government needs to penetrate a hostile network, they don't do it from a bunker in Virginia. They do it through commercial software, through innocent-looking tech companies with ping-pong tables and kombucha on tap, through places like Pinnacle. I am not an IT security analyst. I am a Class 4 intelligence contractor with a clearance level that would allow me to legally detain Marcus if he tried to look at the terminal currently open on my workstation. But I can't tell them that. To them, I'm just boring Dorothy, the lady who sends emails about password rotation policies. The obstacle to their agile development process? It's a lonely life. Honestly, you sit there holding the digital security of critical infrastructure in a code repository while people discuss fantasy football over the partition walls. Sometimes I just want to scream. I'm not debugging login forms. I'm maintaining surveillance backdoors for counterterrorism operations. You absolute walnuts. But I don't. I just listen to podcasts on my earbuds to keep from losing my mind. Speaking of which, since we're getting into the classified stuff here, take a second to hit that subscribe button and thumbs up. It helps the algorithm know you like hearing about corporate idiots almost causing national security incidents. And frankly, it makes me feel less like I'm shouting into the void. Thanks. Anyway, back to the vibe killer. A red folder sits in the bottom drawer of my desk. It's not actually red. That would be too obvious. It's a black binder labeled Legacy System Documentation, 2015-2019. No one in the history of corporate software has ever voluntarily opened a binder with that title. It is the perfect camouflage. Inside that binder are the hard copy authorization codes for the ghost protocols. These are the system access pathways that don't exist on any network diagram. They are the routes our specialized code takes when it needs to penetrate a target system without triggering detection. Today, the binder contained the verification manifest for Operation Nightfall. On the surface, Operation Nightfall looked like a routine security audit of a European banking consortium. In reality, it was a coordinated penetration of hostile nation-state financial infrastructure. The protocols are strict. The digital file is encrypted with military-grade algorithms. My screen has a polarizing filter, so you can't read it from an angle. And most importantly, never under any circumstances is this data to be displayed on a non-secure network. I was reviewing the Nightfall access vectors, double-checking the firewall bypass sequences because government systems have 17 more layers than standard enterprise networks. When Marcus breezed by again, "Hey, Dottie," he said, popping his head over the partition. "I need your laptop." I froze. My hand hovered over the panic key, a small, unmarked button disguised as the F11 key. "Excuse me, my MacBook is doing that spinning beach ball thing," Marcus said, rolling his eyes, "and its support is backed up until Thursday. I need to screen share the quarterly metrics for the all hands. Just let me borrow yours. I'll plug it into the HDMI in the conference room." Boom. Done. "No," I said. It was the firmest I'd spoken in 4 years. Marcus laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. "Excuse me. No, I'm the VP. Dorothy, I'm not asking. We're a team. One mission. One vision. Remember, don't be such a hoarder. Just bring it to the conference room." "Marcus, my machine contains sensitive security data that is not formatted for public viewing," I said, trying to use the corporate speak he understood. "It's not compatible with the projector system." "You and your sensitive data," he mocked, making air quotes. "What is it, social security numbers of the cleaning staff? I don't care. I just need a browser and PowerPoint. Bring it now." He walked away before I could argue. I sat there for a moment, my heart hammering against my ribs. This was a violation, a massive one. If I gave him the laptop, I was breaking protocol. If I didn't, he would fire me, or worse, cause a scene that would draw attention to my department, which is the one thing the agency told me never to do. Stay invisible. "Dorothy, we need the company to look normal." I looked at the red folder in my drawer. I looked at the encrypted interface on my screen, and then a dark, cold thought entered my mind. Marcus wanted transparency. He wanted to show the company what we really do. He wanted to mock my boring work in front of the entire staff to get a cheap laugh. Fine. I closed the secure window, but I didn't log out. I left the biometric authentication engaged. I minimized the window to the taskbar, where it sat like a loaded weapon. I picked up the laptop. It felt heavy, like I was carrying an unexploded bomb. One mission, one vision. I whispered to the empty cubicle. I smoothed down my gray fleece vest, checked my reflection in the dark monitor to make sure my face was sufficiently blank, and walked toward the conference room. I wasn't just bringing a computer, I was bringing the end of Marcus's career, and possibly the end of his freedom. He wanted a show. I was about to give him a federal incident. The conference room smelled like stale kombucha and ambition. It was one of those glass-walled fish bowls that modern architects love, because it symbolizes openness, but really just means everyone can watch you get humiliated. The entire staff was there, about 35 people. There was the product team, loud and jittery on matcha. The engineering department, looking exhausted from the latest sprint. The customer success managers, looking like they'd rather be literally anywhere else. And then there was Marcus. He was standing at the head of the table, pacing like he was giving a TED Talk. He had his sleeves pushed up. He was ready to inspire us. "All right, folks, settle down," Marcus boomed, clapping his hands. "We've got a lot to unpack." Q3 was challenging, but Q4 is going to be legendary. I sat in the back corner, the spot usually reserved for extra chairs and broken monitors. I had my laptop clutched to my chest. Dorothy Marcus pointed at me with a laser pointer. The red dot danced on my gray fleece like a sniper's scope. "Pass the tech. I need to drive the narrative." I stood up slowly. The room went quiet. I could feel the eyes on me, pitying, annoyed, indifferent. There goes Dorothy, slowing things down again. I walked to the front of the room and placed the laptop on the podium. I plugged in the HDMI cable. The screen flickered, then mirrored onto the massive 70-inch display behind Marcus. "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Marcus, please be careful. There are tabs open that contain—" Yeah, relax. "Snowden," Marcus interrupted, physically shooing me away with his hand. "I'm just opening Chrome. Go sit down. You're blocking the innovation." A ripple of laughter went through the room. The product managers chuckled. Classic Marcus, roasting the IT lady. I walked back toward my seat, but I didn't sit. I leaned against the back wall, my hand slipping into my pocket, fingers wrapping around my secure device. It's a thick, ruggedized phone that looks like a BlackBerry from 2009, but connects directly to a satellite uplink. Marcus fumbled with the trackpad. "Okay, let's see. Where is my presentation? Ah, here we go." He opened his slides. It was standard corporate drivel. Bar graphs that meant nothing, pie charts about market penetration. He droned on for 15 minutes about crushing OKRs and maximizing velocity. "Now," Marcus said, a mischievous glint in his eye, "I want to talk about transparency. We have some bottlenecks in the system, some bureaucratic overhead." He minimized his PowerPoint. My desktop was revealed. It was clean, just a dark background with the company logo. But on the taskbar, blinking softly, was the minimized window for the NSA Secure Operations Interface. "You know," Marcus said, looking at the screen, "Dorothy is always talking about her heavy workload. She says she's swamped with security protocols. Let's take a peek, shall we? Let's see what its security is actually doing all day." My stomach dropped. He was going to open my files. He was going to breach containment to get a cheap laugh. "Marcus, don't—" I said it louder than I intended. "Oh, Calm down, Marcus sneered. What are you hiding, solitaire cat videos? He moved the cursor. He hovered over the Minimize tab, labeled Secure Node Omega 9. Whoa, Marcus laughed. Look at this name. Secure Node sounds super serious. Let's see what's inside. Marcus, that is a federal... He clicked. The window maximized. It wasn't a spreadsheet. It was a high-resolution, real-time network topology map of critical infrastructure systems across North America. Overlaying the map were bright red vector lines indicating active penetration pathways. In the center of the screen, a massive dialog box popped up in stark red letters. Classified Operation Manifest Project Nightfall. Target Hostile State Financial Network. Payload 0 Day. Exploit Package. Sigma 7 Current Status. Active Penetration. Clearance TSCI Umbra. The room went silent. Marcus blinked. He squinted at the screen. What the hell is this? Is this a video game? Are you playing some hacker simulation at work? Dorothy, he didn't understand. He was looking at the live operational status of a classified cyber weapon deployment, and he thought it was a game. Then he did the unthinkable. Look at this, Marcus scoffed. Pointing at the screen, it says 0 Day Exploit. Target Hostile State. Jesus. Dorothy, how old are you role-playing games? And look at this interface. He zoomed in on the network map. On the giant screen, the exact topology of the penetration pathway was visible. IP addresses, server locations, access credentials. It looks like you're hacking. Marcus laughed, turning to the audience. She's playing spy games on company time. Folks, this is where your engineering budget is going. He was broadcasting the operational details of an active intelligence operation to a room full of 35 uncleared civilians, half of whom probably had their phones recording. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:18:07 p.m. The breach was total. The data was exposed. The classified operation was visible to anyone who could read. Something inside me snapped. Not a hot snap, like a rubber band breaking. A cold snap, like a server rack shorting out in a secure facility. I looked at Marcus, grinning like an ape in a Patagonia vest. I looked at my coworkers, confused but amused. You want to see what I do, Marcus? I thought. You want to play the game? I didn't rush forward to close the laptop. That would imply I could fix this. This wasn't fixable. This was a level 4 containment failure. I took the secure device out of my pocket. I didn't look at the screen. I knew the sequence by muscle memory. Unlock biometric, app breach, confirm. A tiny vibration buzzed against my palm. One short pulse, receipt acknowledged. I looked at Marcus. It's not a game. Marcus, I said. My voice was eerily calm. Sure. Marcus waved his hand, turning back to the screen to mock the font choice of the classified warning. He had no idea. He thought he was winning the meeting. He didn't know I had just locked the cage, and he was trapped inside with something much worse than a tiger. I sat down. I crossed my legs. I folded my hands over the device in my lap. There is a specific kind of silence that happens in a server room right before a critical system fails. The fans stop spinning. The drives go quiet. In the conference room of Pinnacle Software Solutions, the fans were still spinning. Specifically, Chaser from Product was asking Marcus if the 0 Day exploit was for the war on legacy code. They laughed, high-fived. I watched the second hand on the analog clock tick. 2:19:15. The protocol for Level 4 breach is automated. It's designed to contain information leaks faster than human error can spread them. It doesn't rely on local IT support. It relies on a specialized response team, authorized by the Department of Homeland Security, colloquially known as the Cleaners. Okay. Marcus wiped a tear of laughter from his eye. Seriously, though. Dorothy, delete this game off the system. It's slowing down the machine. I'm trying to pull up the roadmap for the product initiative. He tried to close the window. The cursor didn't move. What? The Marcus jiggled the mouse. He tapped the trackpad. Frozen. Great. Thanks a lot. Dottie, your little hacker game crashed the laptop. He hit Control, Alt-Delete. Nothing. It's not crashed. Marcus, I said softly. Well, it's not responding. He barked. Fix it. At 2:20 Susho, the Wi-Fi icon on the conference room display vanished. The little signal bars in the corner turned into a red X. Hey, someone in the back said, did the internet just go down? My Slack won't load. Mine neither, said Jennifer from Customer Success. I was just sending a client email. Greg groaned. Unbelievable. This building. I swear. I watched the lights on the Cisco router mounted in the corner of the room. Usually, they blinked frantic green. Now they were solid amber. Phase 1. Digital blackout. All outgoing data was being severed to prevent the leak from hitting the public internet. If anyone had taken a screenshot of that display and tried to upload it anywhere, that upload was now dead in the water. My phone's not working either, Chase said, tapping his iPhone screen. I have 0 bars. I had 5G a second ago. It's a dead zone. Marcus dismissed him. We're in a glass box. Focus, people. Since Dorothy's computer is a brick, I'm going to just talk through the metrics. He started talking about synergy again. I felt a second vibration in my hand. 2 pulses. Phase 2. Physical containment. Marcus, I said. He ignored me. So, if we look at the trajectory of Q4. Marcus, I said, slightly louder. What? He snapped. Turning to me. What is it now? Can't you see I'm trying to salvage this meeting? You might want to check the door, I said. Marcus stared at me, like I was speaking in machine code. The door. Why did you order lunch? Is that why you're interrupting me? Did you order pizza on the company card? Just check the door. Marcus? He huffed, threw his hands up, and marched over to the glass door of the conference room. It was a heavy glass slab with a brushed aluminum handle. He grabbed the handle and pulled. It didn't move. He pulled harder. The glass rattled slightly in the frame, but the mechanism held fast. What the hell? Marcus muttered. He used 2 hands. He put his foot against the frame and yanked. The door was solid. It's stuck, Marcus said, turning to the room. The handle is jammed. Chase, give me a hand. Chase. The human golden retriever jumped up. I got it. Boss. Chase grabbed the handle, yanked. Nothing. Did you lock it? Marcus glared at me. Did you lock us in? I don't have the key code. Marcus, I said, mag locks are electronic. They're controlled by the building's security system. Well, call facilities, Marcus shouted. Tell them to reset the locks. I can't. I said, network's down. Remember? A murmur of unease started to ripple through the room. The laughter was gone. The air felt suddenly thinner. Okay, this is ridiculous, Marcus said, his face turning pink. Is there a fire alarm? Just pull the fire alarm. That releases the locks. I wouldn't do that. I said, why not? Because, I said, standing up and smoothing my fleece, we aren't having a fire drill, Marcus, and we aren't having a technical glitch. I walked over to the window. The conference room looked out over the parking lot. Look, I said, pointing. Marcus and half the room rushed to the glass. Outside, the parking lot was emptying, but at the main entrance, massive steel bollards, the kind used to stop vehicle attacks, were rising out of the pavement. Heavy steel shutters were rolling down over the main entrance of the building downstairs. We could hear the faint thunk of the shutters engaging. What is happening? Jennifer whispered, clutching her notebook. Is it an active shooter? Panic flared in their eyes. Active shooter drills were the only context they had for this. No, I said, it's not a shooter. I turned back to the room. I let my shoulders drop. I let the AITA Lady Dorothy mask slip off just a little. My posture straightened. My eyes went cold. It's a containment protocol, I said, because someone unauthorized just accessed a top-secret National Security Agency operations manifest. I looked directly at Marcus. You wanted to see what I do. Marcus, you're seeing it. You just triggered a federal lockdown. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. They just stared at me. It was as if the office ficus had suddenly started reciting the Constitution. Federal lockdown, Marcus laughed. But it was a nervous, high-pitched sound. Okay, very funny. You're really committing to this bit. Dorothy, what is this? A prank. Did you hire actors? Look at the screen. Marcus, I said, gesturing to the giant display behind him. He turned. The network map was gone. The operation manifest was gone. The screen was now entirely black, except for a single, pulsating logo in the center. The Department of Homeland Security seal. And beneath it, a timer, counting down from 45 hours. That's a screensaver, Marcus said, his voice wavering. That's just a graphic. Thunk! The overhead fluorescent lights cut out. The room plunged into darkness for a heartbeat before the emergency red mood lighting flickered on. The hum of the HVAC vents died, replaced by the deep, pressurized hiss of the air filtration systems sealing the intake. Oh, God. Jennifer started to hyperventilate. We're trapped. We're trapped in the dark. Everyone, stay calm, Marcus shouted, trying to find his VP voice in the red gloom. It's a power outage. That's all. The shutters are automatic backup systems. It's sunny outside. Marcus, Chase pointed out, his voice trembling. Shut up. Chase, Marcus snapped. He pulled out his cell phone again, frantically tapping the screen. Why won't this thing connect? I need to call building management. There's a localized signal jammer active. I said. I walked over to the head of the table, Marcus's spot. I sat on the edge of the desk. It blocks all cellular and Wi-Fi frequencies to prevent data exfiltration. Nothing goes in or out until they clear the site. Who is they? Asked Sarah, a young UX designer who was hugging her knees. People coming to investigate why Marcus projected a classified NSA operation onto a conference room wall. I said. Marcus spun around, his face a mask of sweat and red light. Stop saying that. I didn't project a classified operation. I projected a product roadmap. You hacked it. You put that image there to embarrass me. He was spiraling. Denial. The first stage of grief for his career. Marcus, I said, my voice cutting through his panic like a scalpel. You took my laptop. You ignored my verbal warning. You bypassed the minimized tab warnings. And then you zoomed in on a classified interface. There are cameras in this room. The webcam on my laptop was active. They saw everything. Who saw Marcus screamed? Who is watching us? The National Security Agency. I said, and probably the FBI Cyber Division by now. Marcus backed up until he hit the whiteboard. He looked like a trapped animal. But I'm the VP. I have authorization. I run this building. You run a software company that builds collaboration tools. I corrected him. You do not have clearance for Operation Nightfall. In fact, by forcing me to display that data, you've technically committed a violation of the Espionage Act. The room gasped. Espionage. Marcus squeaked. I love America. I have a flag emoji in my Twitter bio. Intent doesn't matter with Level 4 data. I said, reciting the handbook I'd memorized 12 years ago. Unauthorized disclosure is unauthorized disclosure. Negligence is not a defense. The timer on the screen ticked down. 38 0. What happens when the timer hits 0? Sarah asked, tears streaming down her face. That's when the response team arrives. I said, they are currently en route via helicopter from the regional field office. The timer is their ETA. Helicopters, Chase whispered. Black helicopters. Something like that. I said, they're going to secure the building. They will detain everyone for questioning. They will forensically image your devices. And then they will arrest the person responsible for the breach. 35 pairs of eyes turned to Marcus. Now wait a minute. Marcus held up his hands. This is her laptop. She brought it in. She set me up. You all saw it. She handed it to me. We saw you demand it. Marcus, Chase said quietly. She said no. You yelled at her. I was managing. Marcus yelled. That was leadership. It looked like harassment to me, said the quiet DevOps engineer from the back row. The alliance was fracturing. The tribe was turning on the chief. Listen to me, Marcus pleaded, sweating profusely. We have to fix this. Dorothy, you can stop this. Call them off. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them it was a penetration test. I looked at him. I looked at the man who had made my work life a constant stream of micromanagement and condescension. For 4 years, the man who called my work boring. The man who dismissed my warnings. I can't call them off. Marcus, I said, I'm just the IT security analyst. Remember, I just handle the red tape. Don't give me that. Marcus lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. You know what's happening. Fix it. Or so help me God. I'll terminate you right now. I looked at his hand on my fleece, touching a federal asset handler during a containment event. I said calmly, that's another charge. Assault on a federal contractor. Marcus snatched his hand back as if I were made of electricity. Federal contractor, he whispered. I stood up. I smoothed the fabric where he'd grabbed me. Sit down, Marcus. I ordered, not requested, ordered. And for the first time in the history of Pinnacle Software Solutions, Marcus sat down. The red emergency light gave everyone a ghoulish, sickly cast. But it suited the mood perfectly. The illusion of the normal startup was dead. We were now in the belly of the beast. Okay, everyone, listen to me, I said, my voice projecting clearly without shouting. You have 35 minutes before the response team arrives. If you want to get out of this without being detained and processed, you need to do exactly what I say. They nodded. Even Marcus nodded, staring at the floor, wringing his hands. Take out your badges. I said, place them on the table in front of you. Take out your phones. Place them on the table. Do not attempt to delete anything. If you have a smartwatch, take it off. If you have AirPods, take them out. These people have forensic tools that can recover deleted data from a device in 30 seconds. Do not make them work harder than necessary. The sound of plastic and metal clattering onto the conference table filled the room. Dorothy Sarah asked, her voice trembling, "What do we actually do here?" "I thought we built project management software." I sighed. I looked at these people. They were annoying, yes, but they were innocent. They were just people trying to pay their student loans. "We do build project management software," I said. "Pinnacle is a dual-use front. The intelligence community needs legitimate commercial software companies to hide their specialized operations. It's the needle in the haystack theory. If you want to hide a needle, you don't put it in a vault. You throw it in a haystack and ship the whole haystack. We're the haystack." Chase's eyes went wide. "That's why the basement server room has a separate fiber line I can't access. I thought it was for executive video calls. It's a direct uplink to Fort Meade." I confirmed. Marcus lifted his head. He looked haggard. His startup founder confidence seemed to be melting off his face. "And you've known this whole time. You let me walk around like I owned the place. I didn't let you do anything." "Marcus," I said, "I did my job. My job is to maintain the classified systems so you can play CEO. My job is to keep the monsters in the digital box. Today, you opened the box." "I just wanted to show my slides," Marcus whispered. "I just wanted to talk about transparency." "You got your transparency," I said. The timer on the screen ticked down. 28 Huzri, through the slats of the steel shutters. I could see black SUVs arriving at the perimeter. The response team was setting up. "When they come in," I said, "everyone remain seated. Keep your hands visible. Do not speak unless addressed. They will process you one at a time. If you cooperate fully, most of you will be released within 48 hours after signing non-disclosure agreements." "Most of us," Jennifer whimpered. I looked at Marcus. "Most of you?" I repeated. The timer ticked down. 15:00. They came through the main entrance at exactly 2:48 p.m. 10 figures in black tactical gear, moving with the silent precision of a surgical team. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't need to. The conference room door clicked open, the maglock disengaging with a soft beep. A woman in a dark suit walked in first. She wasn't wearing tactical gear. She was wearing a government badge. "Agent Rodriguez," she said, showing her credentials. "National Security Agency, Special Operations Division." Everyone remained seated. "This is a federal security action." The room was silent. Even Marcus, for once in his life, had nothing to say. Agent Rodriguez walked directly to me. "Director Chen, status report. Containment achieved at 2:20 p.m. I said, standing up. "Breach initiated by Marcus Webb, VP of Engineering. Unauthorized access to Operation Nightfall manifest. Full display on unsecured conference room monitor. 35 uncleared witnesses. No confirmed data exfiltration. Signal jam engaged within 45 seconds. Rodriguez nodded. "Good work, Director." "We'll take it from here," Director Marcus croaked. "Director." I looked at him. "My official title is AITA Security Analyst." I said, "My actual title is Deputy Director of Covert Digital Operations for the NSA Northeast Region. I've had this position for 11 years. I've worked in this building for 9. You never bothered to ask what I actually do." Rodriguez gestured to her team. "Take Mr. Webb into custody. He'll be processed at the regional facility. Everyone else, prepare for debriefing." 2 agents approached Marcus. He stood up, his legs shaking. Wait. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know." I'm sorry, Dorothy. Please, tell them I didn't know. I looked at him. I looked at the man who had called my work boring, who had mocked my careful attention to protocol, who had demanded I hand over classified materials so he could make a PowerPoint presentation. You're right, Marcus. I said, you didn't know. That's the problem. You didn't know, and you didn't listen when I tried to tell you. That's not ignorance. That's arrogance. And arrogance is not a defense. They let him out. He didn't go quietly. He was shouting about wrongful arrest and constitutional rights all the way to the elevator. When the doors closed, the silence rushed back. The steel shutters rolled up. The sunlight streamed back in. It was jarring, like walking out of a movie theater in the afternoon. The response team left as quickly as they came, taking Marcus's laptop and the bag of confiscated devices with them. They left one thing behind: a new secure laptop for me and a direct line to the Regional Oversight Committee. The office was quiet. No one went back to their desks. They all just stood in the ruined conference room, looking at the empty spot where Marcus used to pace. I walked over to the podium where Marcus had tried to shine. I looked at the HDMI cable dangling like a dead snake. My phone buzzed. A text message on the new secure device. Sender control, message operation, nightfall, relocated to backup infrastructure. Asset integrity preserved. Excellent containment. Director. I deleted the message. I walked back to my cubicle. It looked exactly the same. The gray walls, the sad succulent, but it felt different. It wasn't a cage anymore. It was a command post. I sat down in my chair. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the red folder. I needed to file the incident report. For years, I had tolerated this job. I tolerated the secrecy. I tolerated the disrespect. I tolerated being the invisible woman. But today I realized something. Invisibility is a superpower. Marcus wanted to be seen. He wanted the glory, and it destroyed him. I was content to be the wallpaper, and because of that, I was the most powerful person in the building. I logged into the system. The screen glowed blue. Welcome, Director Chen. I liked the sound of that. The next morning, the coffee machine was working. Not the break room Keurig, the espresso machine in Marcus's old office. I moved my stuff in there around 8:30 a.m. I didn't ask for permission. I just took the key card from the facilities manager, who looked at me with a mix of awe and terror, and opened the door. I sat in Marcus's ergonomic chair. It was comfortable, even if it did smell faintly of his cold brew and insecurity. The door was open. I could see the bullpen. The office was quieter than usual. There was no startup bro laughter, no throwing Nerf balls. People were working, actually working. Chase walked by. He saw me. He stopped. Good morning, Dorothy. Director Chen. He stammered. Good morning, Chase, I said, sipping a perfectly pulled espresso. Do we have the security audit for the API integration? Yes, ma'am, he said. On your desk in 5 minutes. Make it 3. On it. He practically ran. I turned to my computer. I had a new notification. A new operation. Project Sidewinder. Payload classified malware package. Target adversarial telecommunications infrastructure. Clearance TSS-SCI Umbra. I cracked my knuckles. Most people think software development is boring. They think it's just code and coffee and stand-ups. They think the digital world is held together by venture capital and product managers. They think the people in IT security are just obstacles slowing down innovation. They're wrong. The digital world is held together by the people who make sure the dangerous code gets from point A to point B without anyone noticing. It's held together by the invisible people in gray fleece vests who know how to keep a secret. It's protected by the quiet professionals who read the documentation that nobody else bothers to read. Marcus thought this was a game. He thought he could play with the big boys. He forgot the first rule of cybersecurity. The loudest voice in the room is the first one compromised. I'm not loud. I'm just compliant. And compliance isn't bureaucracy. Compliance is protection. Compliance is the thin, gray line between order and chaos. I approved the operation. I locked the folder. I took another sip of espresso. Red tape isn't boring. It's the only thing keeping the digital monsters in the box. And yesterday, I let one out just long enough to consume the idiot who tried to lift the lid. I think I'm going to like being the boss. Thanks for watching. You keyboard warriors, hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're currently being processed. Like, comment, share with anyone who's ever been told their security concerns were just red tape. Share with anyone who's ever been dismissed as the obstacle to innovation. Share with anyone who knows what it's like to be invisible until the moment invisibility becomes power. Because there are always more stories where this came from. And somewhere out there, another invisible IT professional is watching, waiting, documenting everything. The system never forgets, even when management wants it to, especially when management wants it to.